Hey guys, welcome to Bite Me. This is season 2, episode 20, interview with Psychocat 23. Every time I make a post about rape in the military, it gets minimum 50,000 views. That's how common it is. I'm a part of the statistic myself. Not only do I see these heinous acts typically go unpunished, but there's an entirely different standard women are held to in the military as well. Body and weight checks, maternity restrictions, and code of conduct, just to name a few. Though I've been a base wife a couple of times, and I do lack perspective on the inside of that. Being a soldier myself, I don't know anything about that. I only know the portion of being a dependent. And that's why I've invited a former service member and comedic extraordinaire to join us today on Bite Me. This is Psychocat 23. Would you please introduce yourself, Kat, and tell us a little about yourself?
Well, I'm feeling a little peer pressure after that awesome introduction.
I stumbled a few times, but thank you. I appreciate it. No. Tell us all about you and what you like and what you do and what you don't like and what you don't do and how you hate men. We'd love to hear it.
Well, I'm born and raised in Southern California. I served with the U.S. Navy Seabees from 2008 to 2012. And I will explain what those are because not a lot of people know who Seabees are.
I don't.
We're kind of like the redheaded stepchildren of the Navy. Nobody really pays attention to us. We do a lot of vertical construction, welding, heavy equipment operation. Yeah, real cool stuff.
Over there. So you could like weld me something.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's nice.
It's been a while, so I'd question the bead, but I mean, I could give it a shot.
Very cool. Yeah, like if you got a little fender bender, you could just like fix your car real quick, like whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Wow, it's highly impressive.
Yeah, I don't do anything super cool anymore. That is, I'm a Army wife now. I got 4 kids, and I'm a stay-at-home mom now.
Wow. I mean, like women really can do it all. You can be in the military, you can have kids, you can be a badass on TikTok. Who says that you have to limit yourself? So you were in the military and you saw firsthand the disparities amongst male and female members. What was a shock to you, would you say, or was there anything surprising to you when you first entered?
Okay. When I first joined, I was very young. I mean, I had just barely turned 18.
Oh, wow.
Prior. Yeah, very young.
They say kids run the military. I mean, that's what they say. I mean, would you agree?
Say again?
That kids run the military, that young people, it's like these kids are in wars. I mean, you're young.
I mean, there's a gang of, these young kids that are in the military, but who's running it? It's all these, 90-year-old men that, just refuse to get out.
Yeah.
Which is probably why you're not seeing a lot of changes very rapidly. But, I think I was probably more optimistic about how I was going to be treated. And when you first get there to boot camp, everybody's really treated the same. There's no really big disparity of treatment, but you do notice right away the fitness expectations, the weight expectations are very different between the males and the females. And I remember seeing this group of girls, and they used to have to go to what's called FEP, which is a fitness enhancement program. And what you do on this is you're basically just doing additional exercise on top of what you're already doing, which is a lot.
Is that only for females, or you're saying that it's primarily female participants?
There was a lot more females in it than there were males, it seemed like. Excuse me, I got a cough.
Corona.
It's real. But what I noticed was that, there were these girls that were on here and they're having to do all this extra exercise, which I just thought was cruel and unusual because of how much we were already doing.
Yeah.
And you ask them, well, why are you in this program? Oh, because I'm overweight. And none of these girls looked overweight. Right. Some of them might have just had like larger breasts, maybe a bigger butt, thicker thighs, but none of them stood out to me as overweight, and I come to find out some of them were only a pound or 2 overweight. And, I wasn't on this program purely because I was thin at the time. And some of these girls were outperforming me, they were doing their PT tests better. They were doing more push-ups, more sit-ups, but I wasn't on there because I was thin. And like, it initially didn't bother me until we had to do the weigh-in for our final fitness test, and I was grossly underweight. I think I was about 20 pounds underweight at the time.
Yeah.
And I saw these guys that were underweight. They were being given extra rations. I was told good job, and they were kept on the program.
I mean, when I was a military wife, I never, ever, not once saw a female military member that wasn't in shape, but I cannot tell you how many men I saw with beer guts and couldn't even do
Oh,
a push-up.
absolutely.
It's crazy. I
Mm-hmm.
back then I couldn't consider it, but then I saw a few TikToks not too long ago about like they were actually showing the PT tests and the men versus the women. It was really hard to watch, honestly. I can't imagine what it must have been like for you to live it.
It was really stressful, and like I think the worst part about it was that they use biology to justify that oh, women need more time for their run because they're not as strong as men, and it's like, okay, whatever, let's just dismiss that. Why are you okay with me running a mile and a half in 14 minutes and some odd seconds, but a dude over here that's the same age, he only gets 12 minutes? And well, they just beat the biology into your head. It's like, well, all you're doing is just facilitating this idea that men are superior to women.
Yeah.
And then you look further into these tests. Well, the older you get, the more time you get. Well, why is it okay for this 50-year-old man to get 20 minutes to run a mile and a half, but I have to do it in 14? Why is there not just one set standard? We're all doing the same job, we're all in the same military. I just don't get it.
It
you
sounds
know
like they are old, what do I want to say? Like, I'm sure they're using body mass index and
hmm
certain biological structure, like, well, a man's body versus a woman's body, and that's just very outdated science.
it
It
is
really.
it really is.
But so once you became aware of the climate in that arena, what was your coping mechanism, or how did you navigate those next few years as a female?
um you know it's hard to say because again, I was so young. I had no idea what I was doing. There was no sort of training for how to deal with something like that, and good luck getting a therapy appointment without
Yeah.
getting grief from your chain of command about it. And
Plus, the therapists on base aren't they like kind of predisposed to be like, well, do what you need to do anyways?
yeah, from what I experienced, the healthcare that I got as a soldier was just piss poor in general.
Yeah.
So, I mean, reaching out about anything, from a stubbed toe to a broken bone to your mental health, I mean, good fucking luck. It's like the wild, wild west out there.
Yeah.
But, the coping mechanism, it just kind of turns into just kind of hiding away in your room and just hoping things will change.
Numbing yourself to it.
Yeah.
Or maybe just like becoming acceptant of your surroundings, like
hmm
Stockholm syndrome. Like
Yeah.
Stockholm syndrome with the military. I'm
I
here.
mean, yeah, in a way. I mean, you're not wrong. I do feel like I was in love with my job and I loved what I did and I felt very proud of myself. But, like the fitness standards weren't really something that, ate me up to my core. I think it was more or less just how I was eventually treated down the road. And, just really realizing like, man, I'm never going to be treated the same as Joe Schmo over here.
You're
you
not in the
know
good old boys club.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they say, doing twice the work for half the recognition.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exhausting. I think it's that way for women in any profession, but it's something
hmm
about being in the military, I feel like is specifically insidious because like that is supposed to be like a safeguard for everybody. Like I always say that it's funny about the military that they can go overseas and protect us from all of these people, but they can't protect us from themselves.
hmm
It's weird.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
do you feel as though that, I mean, you were in not too many years ago, or I guess that would be like what, 10 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah. 10 years
So
ago, April.
do you feel like that was an issue that was going on before you, during your time, and goes on now? Like, is it this is the way it's always been and the way it will stay type of ordeal, or is there hope? Like, is it a joke? Can we trust it? Will it always be this way?
I remember before I joined, you hear these stories, and I don't think it was as bad as some people made it out to be. But then again, these were people that didn't actually serve. I
Yeah.
do know that when I joined, it had improved some. But, some of the older female leadership, they would talk to us and tell us some stories about shit that they had been through. And you're just like, man,
Yeah.
I do think that it's improving, but it's improving at a glacial pace is the problem, because I still have female soldiers reaching out to me at least weekly, asking me what to do,
On TikTok.
Well, and
Yeah.
especially because I was a CB, there's not that many women that are CBs. Most people don't even know what they are. And, they'll find my videos, see my little CB hashtag. And so they'll reach out to me and ask me what to do. And, how do I handle this? And, I'll try and give them any advice that I can that I wished I had had. And, sometimes I'll even outright ask, who's your chain of command? Because odds are I
Yeah.
served with them,
Who's your first shirt? Give me his
Yeah.
number or her number. And sometimes even the females won't even help the females in the military. Like the internalized misogyny really goes that deep. It's I in my experience is very much like well, if it's gonna be her or it's gonna be me, it's gonna have to be her because I'm not going anywhere. Like they work so hard to be in that club that they're
Yeah.
still not in, that they're afraid to risk anything. So
Oh,
maybe
and that would happen to me all the time too. I mean, I tried reporting a sexual assault, and it's just so crazy. There was this girl that she was supposed to be trained in one of the sexual assault and prevention people and help you report things and handle it. And so I got appointed to her, even though I didn't want to speak with her. She and I had had issues in the past, but they said, well, she's all we got. Okay, great. And sure as shit, I'm sitting here telling her what's going on. She happened to be there that night when everything went down. And her words to me were, well, you guys were flirting all night. It kind of seemed like that's what you wanted. And I'm like,
oh my God.
I'm not even kidding. I'm absolutely not
Absolutely
kidding.
believe you. I reported that my ex-husband was assaulting me, like domestic battery, and that he had left me and my son with like no resources in the house. Like I didn't have any diapers, I didn't have any money. They went and planted diapers, and I don't know who all did it, but the shirt was there. They planted diapers and food in the house so that whenever whoever was coming to inspect it would be there, it would look like he had given us these resources. Isn't that sick? And they
What
made
brand
me
was
look
he in?
crazy. Oh, at that point, I think he was like, what's the one above the first shirt? First shirt?
No,
What's
no,
the
no,
one?
not his rank. What was he a
Oh, Air
Marine?
Force.
He was air. Wow, that was happening in the Air Force.
Oh my God, the Air Force is out here. We're second in the nation for rape, and people say it's the res, but it's the Ellsworth Air Force Base. They have a
Wow.
reputation, a really bad reputation for that, actually. And a lot of the missing and murdered Indigenous women that you hear about, or don't hear about rather, is from the base and what was formerly like the oil fields in Minot, which I think they still have, but I don't know how much the Keystone Pipeline did or didn't affect that. But that's what's going on out here. And they
Holy cow.
want, yeah, you're expected to shut up and hush, or we'll get rid of the evidence for you.
Wow. What's sad though is I'm not even surprised. Like I'm shocked that
Yeah.
it's the Air Force, but I'm not surprised at what you're telling me because I've heard of that happening so many times.
Why are you shocked it's the Air Force? Can I ask? Is it because normally the Army gets that rap, or?
No, actually, normally it's the Navy and the Marines. The
Mhm.
Army, from what I've experienced, the Army actually has cracked down the most on those things, and that's just from my own experiences. It could be different elsewhere, but it was always the Marines and the Navy. Like I got stationed in Okinawa for about a year,
Oh,
and as
wow.
soon as we
Okay.
got there, we couldn't go to certain places because the Marines had been like causing problems. And right now, like all the places that I have memories, some of them are completely shut down. But if you go out to Okinawa now, you can't go anywhere because the Marines were raping people like
Yep.
constantly. It was happening all over the place. And I don't know. I guess that's just what's been
I
put in
mean,
my head.
and then they cover for each other.
Oh,
And
yeah,
who's going to do
absolutely.
anything because that's the law. I mean, the military is the law. Like that's I went to Costa Rica and the cops there are the military because they have no military. And then here, like we have to fear our own military because like who would believe you? It's so sick and so sad and so exhausting. But it is refreshing to talk to somebody else who is like, yep,
Yeah.
that's what's going on. I saw it firsthand too. On that
Yeah.
note, we're going to take a quick break.
And,
All right, guys, welcome back to season 2, episode 20. This is Interview with Psycho Cat. So, Cat, when we left, we were talking about how, like, we were commiserating over how sad it is that the military is such a shit box. And you were telling me during the break about how you had to whip your ass back into shape after having a baby. So, tell me what that looked like.
Yeah. So I actually made a TikTok about this earlier in the year, and I love talking about this. So when I was pregnant, this was back in 2010. I got, you're pregnant for 9 months, right? I got 45 days of maternity leave, which wasn't nearly enough, let me tell you. And
Yeah.
I had 6 months from the day that I gave birth to get my body and my weight completely back into check and be able to take and pass a fitness test. And the reason why I love talking about this is because, women, I'm sure this might have changed. I don't know. This is just how it was when I was in. But you spend 9 months getting your body completely wrecked and then
Yep.
ripped in half during birth, and you get
Yep.
6 months. You get 6 months, right, to get back into shape.
That's
Well,
crazy.
here's a funny thing though. Here's a funny thing. When COVID hit, broskies couldn't go to the gym very often. So do you know how long that they got to take a PT test once COVID hit?
Oh, it was probably more than 6 months.
2 years.
Jesus Christ!
2 years. They don't have to pass a fitness test until this year because of
Oh my God,
COVID.
it's a bunch of fatties, dude.
So,
That's
I mean, but think about it though. A woman has to give birth and get 6 months, but dudes couldn't go to the gym and they got 2 years to
It
take
reminds me of the fact that we do have male birth control in the United States and in the world, but they have not, implemented it because the men can't handle the side effects. I
Oh,
hate
yeah.
this world. I hate it.
Go get a
Oh,
vasectomy.
women are weak. Women can't have this, they can't have that, but we can't deal with side effects. Like, it's like the people who won't like take the COVID shot. It's like I think they're just scared to get a shot. Like,
Yeah.
it's such a double, like, if
Well, they'll sit here and say, oh, a year's worth of testing isn't enough for me. Like, do you have any idea how little testing is done on so many of those other vaccines that are already pumped into your kids? But
how
this
about
is
the
the one that
fact
you're
that
worried
like
about.
I don't want to comply. Well, what are you doing at a stoplight? What are you doing when like like you comply every day?
Like, I can't help
Stupid.
but laugh at like their arguments because it's
It's like
just
little
so,
children. It really is
yeah.
like small children, and you can't argue with it, but you almost have to because it's like, no, let me slap all the dumb out of you. Have you seen Don't Look Up?
No, I haven't yet.
Girl, you got to watch it. There's this one part where the girl who finds the comet, there's these like street urchins, and they're the only people who believe. They're like us. They're just regular like TikTok, like whatever the fuck, and they're like the only ones with any sense in their head. And they ask her, they're like, "Oh yeah, that time that like they got together with China and they prevented that missile from going through. Like they were in it together, huh?" And she goes, "No, no, no. The truth is way more depressing than that. They are not even like smart enough to be the evil geniuses that you give them credit for." It's
It's
so
true
true.
though.
And that's who's running our nation. Oh my
Hmm.
God, that's so scary. You gotta watch
America's masterminds at work.
it. So, at that point, like, was that maybe when you were having to whip your ass back into shape in 6 months? Like, was that what made you kind of decide, okay, I'm gonna get out? Or do you feel like your time there just kind of hit an expiration date? Or was there a specific experience that made you decide it was time to exit?
I think for me, it was a multitude of experiences. I had been raped 3 times. I had been sexually assaulted more times than I can count. I was dealing
All of
with
this
sexual.
in while you're still in the military. Not that it would
Yeah.
matter being out. It's still terrible either way, but I'm just saying the fact that you were in it and this is happening with,
Hmm.
I'm assuming, your peers.
Yep. Yeah. And all in just 4 short years, too. I can't even tell you how many times I've been assaulted or harassed. And then I just got really burnt out on working my ass off for nothing. And honestly, before I got pregnant with my son, my career had already been completely destroyed, thanks to the help of actually the same woman that was taking my sexual assault report.
Yeah.
Some women will, some women do a little better in their own little sadistic way because they'll manipulate the men in their favor. And she didn't like me, so my career just really snowballed before it
Because
could
you're a
even begin.
talker and they don't like talkers. It's
Well,
sit
it
down.
wasn't even that. Even before I started, reporting anything, or, I was just trying to work, just trying to make a name for myself, trying to build up, a good career. And, just because she and I didn't get along, and, the petty officer that was in charge of our platoon, he had the hots for her. So he was at her bidding. And before I
Yeah.
knew it, I lost, once in a lifetime opportunities. I, had a label added to me that carried with me. And no matter where I went, I had gotten sent to, you'll love this. I got sent to a disciplinary review board because my IUD was digging into my cervix during gun drills and I couldn't complete the task.
Yeah.
And the instructor who was instructing the class, he told me, go to medical afterwards, no matter what, just stay home, I'll see you tomorrow, right? Well, I went home as he instructed, and I get a phone call from some random person I didn't even work for, some guy, and asking me where I was, what I was doing, called me back in. And while I still had the IUD stabbing me in my cervix, the IUD I was forced to get, by the way, I was forced to stand at parade rest for 3 hours while an
Oh
IUD
my
was stabbing
God.
me in my cervix. And then I had to do the same thing the next day for another 5 hours.
I don't know how you did that. I would like, I think most women, most people would pass out.
Yeah, it was probably one of the, aside from giving birth, that was definitely one of the most painful experiences in my life. And they ended up sending me to a disciplinary review board. And a chief who had sexually assaulted me sent me a step higher to XOI, which is where you go in front of the
A chief
executive
who sexually
officer.
assaulted you.
Yeah.
So you, I just want to wrap my head around this. And I had similar experiences, although not as yours are, not that it's a competition, but you're, if there was, you would like, you were having to see these people who had assaulted you on probably like a daily or weekly basis.
I had to work with them regularly.
I'm sorry, I'm just taking like a moment of silence for that, because I think a lot of people are very naive to people who are not involved in the military, don't understand. Like, people really, I mean, we're seeing now it's different, but like for a long time it was, but that's the military and surely they'll do the right thing. But that's the cops, but surely they'll do the right thing. And it's actually like the real thugs wear the uniforms.
Yep. Yeah.
It's
That's
very
exactly
sad.
what it is. It is
I'm
very
very,
sad.
I'm sorry that that happened to you. I'm very sorry
Well,
that that happened to you.
I mean, it's really crappy, but I kind of feel like, and I hate to sound like such a cliche, but it like made me like the tough person that I am today. Like, it's
For other
because of
women.
all that shit that I can get in a grown ass man's face now and just pop off. Like, if he wants to say something, I'm not scared anymore now. Now it's like, what, I
Yeah.
already been through enough,
Yeah, I met
you
you
know.
before.
I know
You don't know
you.
who I am. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, the next question is, what story or event in particular will you take from it? And I think we can easily assume that you will take those hideous experiences with you, but I think that the moral is the experience that you took with you out of the military is that, okay, this is what I have now, and this is the knowledge of that that I can teach my children. I mean, would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's because of that, even if a friend of mine, is trying to hug my daughter and she doesn't want to, before I probably would have been like, no, you need to hug him. But now I'm like, no, we don't force hugs. We don't do that. Like, now I'm just so aware of all of that. And all I can do is just hope that I can pass it on to my kids. I hope that my sons never become like that. And I hope that my daughters become too smart to to hopefully that'll never happen to them,
I mean, what would you say
because
to them if they told you that they wanted to join the military?
I would support them
Yeah.
100%. But the one thing that they would have that I didn't is the knowledge and the expectation of how you're probably going to be treated, how to combat that, what you can do. There was just no training. And looking back now, like older, God, I wish I had just gone through a week-long program of, hey, here's what could possibly happen. Here's how to arm yourself. Here's how to prevent these things from happening to you. But if they do that, they know that people aren't going to leave, that people aren't going to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that you have a really healthy attitude about it. And I hope that a lot of people who are going through your experience can adopt that, because I know that many people don't see a light at the end of the tunnel and they end up taking their own lives, which is another episode altogether. But on a lighter note, an unrelated question. You are hilarious and sarcastic like me. How did you end up on TikTok as a comedic outlet and general feminist badass? If I may call you a feminist, maybe you're not.
No, you can definitely call me that. It's actually kind of a weird story. I used to make really crappy vines back in the day.
Really? You were a vine maker?
Yeah, they were terrible.
I'm impressed. Were they bad? Okay.
Super terrible. None of them went viral.
On YouTube or what?
No, on Vine. Yeah.
Oh, Vine's a thing. I'm a little elderly over here.
Yeah, Vine was what TikTok is before TikTok, except you could only do like 6-second videos, and Vine was just great. You've probably seen a lot of Vines and you don't even realize it.
Sure. Yeah.
But I used to make Vines way back in the day, and I always thought I'd do something with it. Then the app died out. And then in the end of 2020, I was running Facebook pages for CDs, because I was trying to like make a difference. I was seeing just a real unhealthy environment that I was experiencing in the military, still carrying into these groups on Facebook where I just wanted to socialize, with my brothers and sisters that I served with. And it was just so toxic.
Yeah. Real
so
political.
I started,
in the bad way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started doing that, but then it just became overwhelming for me to manage. It was just so horrible. And I ended up leaving all social media. It was, I left Facebook, I left Instagram, I left everything. I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, my mental health was just in the shitter. And so I started watching TikTok compilations on YouTube because I was so against downloading TikTok. And then January of last year, I was finally like, well, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to download it. Let's see. And it ended up just being so great. And I started making videos one day as a joke. And then in 6 months, I had 100,000 followers.
Yeah.
I have no idea how I did it.
Following. I don't know. I got in when the pandemic started, and I just because my kids wouldn't stop bugging me about it.
Yeah.
And then I posted some damn video talking about Trump's a fucking asshat, and everybody just shut up and get Biden in there because because by that point, like Warren was out, Bernie was out, so I was like, just shut up and just get him out. I don't care.
Yeah.
And then somebody told me it got like 300,000 or 400,000 views. And I can understand how it got so popular so fast. And people were like, you're saying what we're all thinking.
Facts.
Yeah. I don't know. TikTok's crazy. It's a curse and a blessing at the same time. Someone asked me once, like, what are you doing with it? I was like, well, I think it's an investment for all of us. And what that investment looks like to everybody is different. I mean, where do you see yours going? Just hanging out?
Yeah, for now, just kind of hanging out. I'm just kind of trying to get everything situated after moving. I would really love, and I've talked about this for years, I'd really love to do YouTube and actually do like some skits and some more comedy kind of beyond just holding the camera in my face, and I suppose I could do that on TikTok, but I really want to bring like kind of more eclectic content. And I kind of feel like on TikTok, I'm kind of trapped in a box a little bit. Because anytime I try and deviate a little, do something a little different, or maybe add something else, I'll lose some followers, or I'll do something, gain a bunch of followers that'll follow me just for that. They'll see the rest of my content, and then you get those stagnant followers, and so I don't know. I'm still trying to navigate it. We'll see. Maybe I'll get an OnlyFans if people are for this.
If you're down for garage pornography.
Oh, hell yeah.
I don't know what garage pornography is.
We'll call them garage confessionals.
Yeah. That's let's keep it PG. Okay. So Kat, Would you like to advertise anything? Do you have any, what do you got going on in your life that you'd like the viewers to hear?
I don't have any advertisements or anything, but I'm always going to encourage people to donate to a battered women's shelter. You can never go wrong to that. I don't have any links for it, but they're very easy to find on the internet.
Yeah, just check out your local shelter and help them out. All right. Well,
Absolutely.
Kat, I want to thank you for being here with us tonight and for, taking time to share your experiences. I think your story is invaluable to a lot of women. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me and popping my podcast cherry.
Absolutely. I'm your host, Brooke. Be sure to check out the Truthful Groomer website, Insta, Twitter, and we'll see you next time on Bite Me.